William-Adolphe Bouguereau. Like he's a painter that, like I sort of ran into his hour while looking at random paintings, just looking for poses and whatnot. So then I looked at more of his artwork and I'd be like, why don't they teach these guys artwork in school? He's like really talented. And then when I saw the time period that he worked at, it made perfect sense because in art classes they usually said, oh, this is a painting from the neoclassical period. And then as soon as the impression, and then afterwards they jump to impressionism, and then they only focus on the impressionists, but then they completely omit all of the artworks or the people that were also producing paintings that were not impressionists, you know? So it's like they say, oh, the impressionists happened, and then that was the only thing that people painted, but all the people were painting other stuff while the impressionists were alive. So this is the work of William-Adolphe Bouguereau. He was a salon painter, so he was one of the bad guys, quote unquote, but you know, he was just going with the flow, you know? He was taught to play neoclassical style, and he taught his students how to play neoclassical style. And just because he wasn't like the impressionists, which were like popular right now, doesn't mean that his artwork is terrible. He's a really good painter. So he mostly did traditional. So then here's a religious painting, the Virgin Mary with her chubby baby Jesus and a couple of angels. Very nicely well painted. Here's an example of his Greek classical work, art and literature. You know, personifications of both of them. So you see that the art, the painter stuff, and literature with like the harp and for the lyrics, you know? A very nice classical work. But you know, like but people don't even mention him and whatnot. And then here, genre painting. Genre just basically painting like poor people and whatnot. So, you know, here we are, two poor little girls by the ocean. No, it's very nicely well drawn because in like traditional ways, in the classical paintings, what was taught during the time, it said that you were only considered a very good painter in the salon if you knew how to draw a woman well, because it was considered back then that drawing woman and making it look like actual feminine woman was like something really hard to do back then. So he would draw a lot of shapes to show off. And he also did portraits. You know, he did everything that was expected of you everything that was expected of you to be considered a good painter. But his biggest legacy, even though his paintings and all of his things were forgotten and whatnot, his students are very well remembered because he, aside from painting, he also taught a bunch of he had like hundreds and almost thousands of students that he taught how to paint. So that in of itself is like his biggest legacy, the works of his students, you know, that he taught them really well how to paint, and most importantly, he taught them how to make money out of painting, which is something that they don't teach you in school, which is like literally the most important thing, how to monetize your painting. So then, and not only did he teach them how to monetize their painting, he also taught them how to, like, he also made certain that one work of all of his students was showcased in the salon, because the salon in Paris, that was the only way that you got exposure. So basically, how the salon worked is that an artist would submit their painting, and then a panel of judges will come in and rate it and whatnot, and also like the journalists will give them a review. So then, by having your artwork show up in the salon, even if they talk bad about you, you actually got exposure. So the worst thing that could happen to you was for your work not to appear at the salon, because even bad reviews, like, people know your name. That's why what's his name, Manny with an A, always exposed all of his paintings in the salon, because even if they didn't like it, they knew his name. So yeah. He was still sad. If he wasn't going to be famous, he was going to be infamous. So now we're going to look at one painting of some of his most famous students. Like, this one is by Cecilia Bios. After the meeting, like, as you can see, she learned a lot from the master, you know, how to draw the body well. And it has a very complicated composition and whatnot because she's like sitting at a weird odd angle. But her work leans more towards the impressionist, as you can see with like the fluid brushstrokes and whatnot. But she still remember the most important thing: how to compose and see a female body, or in complicated poses. Because that was the thing that William-Adolphe Bouguereau hammered on to his students. You need to know how to draw a person well, like the body of a person. As long as you get that, everything else doesn't matter. This one is Jefferson David Shaston, the visiting champion. See, the player took his playing checkers, and then the audience, and then the other kid watching him play. See all of the seated figures with variable poses and whatnot. See, each of them are seated differently. So yeah, this is him applying into his style what he learned from his teacher William-Adolphe Bouguereau, that in the importance of drawing the human body well. And not just doing like a simple pose, but a complicated one. Like you see over here with him clenching his fist as he's thinking and before making his move and whatnot, and the tension of this kid watching the other guy making his master stroke. See, there's a drama going on in this simple painting and whatnot. The seemingly simple. Like if you look closely, it's a very complicated painting. This one is by Ewart Irving Cowles. If I'm butchering the name, I'm sorry. Like I think it's kind of like written half up there. So then you see, he also applied what he learned from the master. A very complicated crouching position pose on the Native American that he painted. And he also got another advice from like his teacher, which is to like try to paint something that your contemporaries are not painting. Like Bouguereau's, the Bouguereau, he painted Breton women, so that's how he stood apart from all of the other neoclassical salon painters. So then this guy, in order to set himself apart from his contemporaries, he painted Native Americans, and not so much in like then the bad guys who are hyper romanticized. Just a Native American painting like painting of a painting, a painting of a painter,
Yeah, showing that there's also art.
that they are also painting. Yeah, they're also artists, So he's painting a painter, which is something that back in those days, they didn't bother too much to like give a proper rendition of like what Native Americans were truly about and whatnot. So yeah, it's a painter of a painter. This one is by Anna Elizabeth Klumke. Huh? Klumke. Klumpke. I don't know how to pronounce that. If I'm butchering the names, it's because I am. So yeah, she leaned more towards like the classical aspect. So just a maiden among lilies. So what you see is what you get. And lines, graceful female figures, and even though it's a little bit more impressionistic and whatnot, the figure's still perfectly well rendered. So she was a good student, She learned well the biggest lesson, learned how to draw a shape properly. This one is by Lawton Silas Parker, Midsummer Idyll. So yeah, this one is definitely more. This one is more flat out impressionism with like the high vibrant colors and whatnot. But even though it's already like full-blown impressionism, you can see that the figure is very well composed and whatnot, and it has a good natural color. So yeah, even though it's impressionistic, she's still applying what she learned about composition and how to properly frame a female body that she learned from her teachers. So you see, and also a still life, to balance out the composition and whatnot. So it has classical elements in an impressionistic painting. See, the still life in the foreground and the classical seated figure in the background. And even the background elements, they're like a little, they're a little bit more chaotic in one because she wants your eye to focus on like the seated figure. Because that's something else that you notice in Bouguereau's paintings. Let me just go back for a second. The background is more like meh. Like, yeah, like it's just there to like make, it's like very limited background. Just there to make certain that you focus on the seated figures and whatnot. And like on like the human character, because he wants your eyes to just focus 100% on the persons that he drew. So as you can see over here, even over here is the same scene. The background is very muted, and because he wants your eyes to focus on this guy. So see, it's them applying what they learned from their teacher. Alright, over here, this one is Ladies Having Tea by Frederick Jude Ward. And this one went a little bit more crazier with the background, but you know, the figures they have variables in their poses. You know, this one is pointing, this one's holding the tea, and this one's holding a cookie in adjustment of fashion while holding out her pinky. So yeah, see? But even the background, even though it's slightly more ornamental, the eye is still hyper focused on the maidens.
In fact, it almost wants you to look at the still life.
Yeah.
Because the maidens are all pointing at each other and at the still life.
Yeah, so see, even the classical still life in the center. So see, over here you see all of the classical training that this painter learning in Bouguereau's atelier, which is what he called his school and whatnot. What was called?
This is Atelier Bouguereau would have been a cool.
Well, it was also I think it was like Julian or Lucian school. I forget off the top of my head. You know, he also taught there as well, but he had a lot of students. He taught a painting. And this one, it may look like a William-Adolphe Bouguereau painting, but it's actually a Jane Gardner painting. And see, it's Elizabeth Gardner. Elizabeth Jane Gardner, Younger with Grapes. And it looks practically like a Bouguereau painting because she also studied under the master, and she studied so well that, like, if you put a Bouguereau painting, one of her paintings and one of the paintings of her teacher, they look practically identical. I mean, just look at this painting, and now let's switch to another little, and then let's switch back to another little girl painting. See? Look practically identical, yeah? So like she learned very well from the master, almost to the point that she could like easily like do like imitation or like a counterfeit version of it if she really wanted to. But not that she had a reason to, because she's his second wife. He ended up marrying one of her students, as is cliche among all art teachers. Even in modern times, our teachers are still marrying their young female students. But that's just how the artwork rolls. So then, this is the last student painter that I wanted to show you. Believe it or not, this is a Henri Matisse painting. So this is one of the earliest, like literally one of the earliest works of Henri Matisse when he was studying was studying under William-Adolphe Bouguereau. But now, this is the type of art that you consider it. But now this is Henri Matisse, 1952. This is literally one of his last paintings. And it's an abstraction of a seated female figure. And even though it's abstracted, you still see the complicated poses that he learned from studying under his master, William-Adolphe Bouguereau, but he applied his own twist into it. But you see, very complicated figure angle pose, you know? Even though it's like a collage, paper cut version of it, still, even down in his subconsciousness, he was remembering all of the lessons that he learned 60 or 50 years back. So, you know, the time that William-Adolphe Bouguereau spent teaching Henri Matisse was not wasted. Even though if you put both eyes together, they couldn't be more polar opposites of each other. See, Henri Matisse here, and let's zoom all the way back, and then you see William-Adolphe Bouguereau, night and day. But even so, he still remembered the importance of rendering the female figure in an accurate way, even in an abstractive form. which is very interesting. All right, so I'm done here, and pay attention to what your our teacher teaches you. Bye bye and God bless.
All right.